right, good morning, everyone. Let me just start off by saying I'm in a much better mood now than I was last night. If you follow me on social media like Twitter and Instagram, you know I was not in the mood yesterday. I'm still adjusting to daylight savings time. I was grumpy. I did not want to stay up to watch the episode, and I did. And my first viewing of the episode was not that good. There are a couple parts I missed. I have rewatched the episode. I have all my notes, all the screenshots, all that good stuff. Hence why I'm recording right now. And let me just say, and this is something that I feel like I said a couple weeks ago. I forgot the episode title, but it was the cliffhanger where Hannah and Candace jump Jim. Just because the ending of an episode is really good, in my mind, that doesn't make it a great episode. Like, the entire episode, for the most part, was pretty lackluster. Just because the ending was good doesn't make the entire episode good. That's just my opinion. So don't feel like I'm attacking you if you disagree. Some people are telling me 15 minutes was a 10 out of 10. Some people are saying it was an 8.7 out of 10. When I first watched it last night, in my mind, I think I talked to Chandler, I gave it like a 7.5 because there was too many scenes that were dragged out, misinformation in terms of continuity, in terms of Benny's interest money. I will get to that later. That just pissed me off. And I know it was all about setting up for the mid-season finale next week. And that's another thing I need to clear up. A lot of people, even in my Facebook group, were saying, well, tonight's the last episode, y'all ready? And then they got a bunch of comments and likes. No, guys, there is a new episode coming out next week. And sorry about this. See, I don't know about y'all, but in my area in Virginia, like, almost everybody's getting like 50 freaking phone calls a day from telemarketers about insurance and warranties and crap. So I had to throw my phone across the room so it wouldn't make noise. But typically the episode before the mid-season or season finale is sometimes better than the actual finale itself. But for 2 weeks in a row, what was last week's episode? Enough? And then this week's episode was 15 minutes. And if I get the episode titles wrong, or was it called Morning? Was it called Morning? Sorry, guys. Look, I forgot the titles because I talk about it so much. But in any case, I just did not like how this episode clearly dragged on. There were like 2 or 3 scenes I really liked, but the rest of the episode kind of, held it back. So what I'm going to do here, let's just talk about the episode itself, and I'll talk about a score later on because honestly, I still don't know what to score it with. But basically, we pick up where we left off. Wyatt goes up from the basement. He puts the loaded gun next to the fireplace near the window, so it's kind of like not basically at a vantage point where he can see the living room. And then he goes upstairs, and how he sneaks past everyone without them noticing is beyond me. But I did like the opening scene where we had basically the Harringtons and the Criers going back and forth. It's been quite some time since we've seen all 4 of them together like this. And I just love how this episode was good, in fact, because a lot of Easter eggs and things from previous seasons were brought up. I mean, going back to season 1, Catherine knows how to hit Veronica's button, and just saying or even hinting at Jeffrey being gay is enough to shut her up. Like, literally, go back to the early seasons, you'll see what I mean. And, Jim and David trying to keep the peace because they're the ones who are like, look, if we don't work together, we're all screwed because, as we already discussed in other videos, well, it was even in the preview, look, we've been indicted, so we can be arrested at any time. Pretty much, Catherine and Veronica going back and forth about Jennifer being shot and Veronica's drinking problem. And I love the paranoia, and I kept saying this to us. I'm like, guys, if Veronica does stop drinking and turn sober, she's going to get suspicious. And there we go with the paranoia. And if you go back to after Jennifer was shot, David showed up, and Veronica was thinking that David and Catherine were teaming up with each other in order to put her behind bars. Once again, the paranoia factor comes in, and this scene, well, this episode in general, I feel like the editing was kind of choppy because I feel like some scenes were meant to be longer, other scenes were meant to be shorter. But they kind of Frankensteined it. That's why the flow of the episode was a bit off. But there were some scenes like the opening, which I did like. So basically, Veronica is literally the brains of the operation. But that's not to say nobody else has sources. It's just that Veronica's can literally, get to things quicker than the rest of them. So even David mentions that. After that, Candace and Landon. And I have to say, Tinka Sumter probably was one of my favorite characters in the episode, just because we saw another side of her genuinely being happy. Her smile is so much more attractive than her scowl. Not to say that she isn't somewhat cute when she's mad, but there is just something about seeing her light up the way she is. And I'm not saying that she's glowing from being pregnant, even though I did a video on that earlier this week. But at the same time, it was just refreshing to see her like that. Then, you know, Charles comes in when Landon makes the dress. Charles came in like, you know, a dad watching his son, you know, playing with his daughter's clothing and dolls. He's like, no, it wouldn't. Oh, Landon, leave us. And the dress, too. That was pretty funny. And then, you know, those two cuddling in bed. Now I'm just jealous because it's like, damn, I wish I had somebody to cuddle with. Kind of sucks. But my jealousy aside, it was a sweet scene. Charles once again suggests Candace go talk to Hannah and reassures her that, you know, I'll never hurt you. But then Candace makes a jab back. Charles, if you do hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. And then Charles keeps dropping these hints at something bigger, no pun intended, coming her way. No pun intended. The fact that he knows everything. And he's like, that's creepy. I want to like this guy. But this is reminding me way too much of Oscar. Somebody who Candace finally opens up to, gives her heart to, follows their advice. Remember, at the Sarandon Hotel, after they had sex, I believe, Oscar told Candace, well, why don't you go see your ex in jail? You know, try to make peace or whatever because it's been bothering you. She goes to see Quincy in jail. And unlike her meeting with Hannah in last night's episode, it didn't go too well. Candace went with a smile on her face, trying to talk with Quincy, but Quincy pretty much reassured her, I'm going to get out of here one day, and I'm going to kill you in front of our son. I'm going to rip you to shreds. I'm just saying, there are a lot of similarities between Oscar and Charles. Keep that in mind. Let's see, after that, Madison gets a phone call from Jeffrey. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over this. Earlier in the episode, Jeffrey's chilling at David's house, which is surprising because I thought he said he would leave and not... Wait, what? Didn't he leave last episode? Yeah, he did leave because he had that mini falling out with David. Then he got in his car and left. Why is he back there? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, yeah, basically saying, I want to kill my parents. Jeffrey's like, don't call me when you're high. He's like, I'm not using, yada, yada, yada. I want to shoot him, blah, blah, blah. I've already talked about it. And guys, if you watched my last couple reviews, you know I'm more relaxed with this because if I really dwelled on something in its own separate video before an episode airs, I'm not really going to talk about it in the review because I've already talked about it. Let's see here. Charles Madison. Madison says no. Jeffrey's still going. Who really gives a crap? Then we get to, what's his name? Kyle, the FBI agent. And if you don't know, he was in last season briefly when Candace robbed him at the Artesian Hotel. I'll probably need to do a separate video on that, just the refresher. But remember, this was after Quincy Jr. was dead and the funeral home scene and everything and wanted him to be cremated. It was pretty much, you know, Candace just lashing out like she always does and being pretty sloppy. Instead of having sex with people, she would just lure men to her hotel room, then just take their money and rob them. And I think, if memory serves, that's how she got arrested last season. But then Landon and his team got him out. Or got her out. Sorry, got her out. Basically, it looks like, you know, this is a representation of what goes down in, you know, real world politics. It's like whenever a president comes to the White House, the FBI and whatnot want to have blackmail or something on them. That way they can control what they do. Because even Charles says, you know, well, part of the country loves me, the other part hates me. And then Candace was like, I can relate to that. I think that was a fun little wink to the camera, breaking the fourth wall, because that does represent Candace, where part of the haves and the have-nots fan base love her while the other half hates her. If that was done on purpose, well played, Tyler Perry. But basically, it looks like that one guy, I need to remember his name, I forgot what it was, but he's going to be looking into Candace to see if he can find anything on her, which leads to next week's episode, but I'll talk about that in the preview. Then once again, Wyatt calls Jeffrey, basically pulling another paranoid. Jeffrey is screwed. I mean, Justin still blames him for what happened via the beatdown thanks to David. Wyatt is now paranoid like Veronica, thinking that Jeffrey has something to do with Anna no longer being his counselor when he was the one that had sex with her. So that's why she left and didn't come back. Jeffrey didn't know a damn thing about it. Justin being creepy, looking out of the window. I'm not going to lie. I kind of do the same thing. Hold on, I'm not crazy. Whenever I have a guest, I had to make sure everything's just right. But I feel like everyone can relate to that. I don't have pictures, like 50 pictures of said visitor on the wall like that. So that was really weird. And how much you want to bet Justin hacked the security cameras in the parking garage? That way he knew that Jeffrey was there. Because even Jeffrey was like, how'd you know I was down here? And then he just takes creepy to a new level. It's like, well, maybe we should smell alike. We got the same fragrance and everything. And I'm just like, okay. Like, we knew Justin was like a crazed stalker and obsessive, but I think they turned up the creepy a bit too much in this episode. I mean, that was just a bit, I don't know. It's like you're making Justin overly creepy, then you're making Jeffrey overly stupid. That's really all I got to say. I mean, at least him and Madison had a moment where Jeffrey apologized for being an asshole, so I'm glad they did that. But don't try to redeem Jeffrey. That way, if he gets into trouble, Madison has a reason to rush to his aid, because that's not going to do anything for me. It's not. But basically, after that, another great scene. Mitch is talking to Sandy, and like I did in that video, when the Malones found out where Catherine's house was via, Wyatt's there too, that information would be transferred over to Vinny because, well, technically Sandy Malone told Vinny. Now, Vinny was mad because Mitch didn't say, but then Mitch was going to tell Vinny, and for good reason, because it's like, look, just kind of think about it before you actually do it, because the Malones and the Criers kind of got this understanding. I mean, yeah, they kind of are on thin ice right now with each other, but at the same time, Jim knows secrets. And I'm not going to lie, the way the conversation was going, for a moment, I thought Vinny was like, well, maybe we should take him out too because he knows so much. I was waiting for him to say that. But it looks like Vinny himself is going to try to break into Catherine's house. I might be wrong about that, but that was the vibe I was getting from the conversation. And Mitch was being a peacemaker. Once again, that's why I love this guy. Awesome character. So basically, to do the rundown here, Wyatt, the drugs that Vinny gave him was about $5 grand. So he said it was like $5,000 worth of drugs that Wyatt had that night before, the next morning when the ATM wasn't giving him any money because he was broke. But in order to renegotiate to, if the kid pays me $50,000, basically 10 times what he owes, then I'll back off of him. And this is something Mama Rose doesn't know about, which is interesting. And Vinny even said it wouldn't be the first time he did something without her knowing. So Mitch said he would try to negotiate with the Criers in order to get this sorted out. So let's just keep that in mind too. All right. Then we go over to... Wow, this is the last scene of the episode because it's like the last 10 to 15 minutes. We go back over to Hannah's place. Derek, Hannah, and Benny are having dinner. Benny's just being an ass still, whatever. I don't even really, there's nothing much to talk about. Pretty much Benny had that look on his face. It's like when you and a friend, when you're with your friend, but then a friend of your friend shows up and it's somebody you don't like, and then they're just breathing and you're rolling your eyes. That's pretty much what Benny was doing to Derek. Derek's doing the dishes, and he pretty much misses a magical moment. I mean, he is crying in the next episode, but that's probably because he overheard everything that went on. But in any situation here, Candace shows up. All right, and this is the last chunk of the episode review, just so you know. And if there was anything I missed, let me know. I feel like I missed something, but like I said before, the episode dragged on in so many places that, there's really not that much to talk about. I'm going to talk about Benny's interest money at the end of this video, so let's just talk about this entire scene. And yes, I will be doing a entirely separate video talking about the Hannah and Candace discussion. I will give props to Tyler Perry because Benny took a back seat. Benny sat down and shut up, except for the beginning when he was nagging Hannah. I do not fault Hannah because if you remember, the last time, like she said, the last time Candace came up in that house and tried to put on a nice act or a facade, asking, "Mama, are you okay? I just wanted to check in on you." It was all about that money. And even then, not only did she confirm that she had sent Malik over there to threaten her, but she was going to send someone every single night until the money was given to her. So I do not fault Hannah for being hard on Candace, because even Candace told Charles, I don't want to go over there, and then she comes at me the wrong way. But then Charles was like, you know what? Stand your ground and do what you got to do. And that's what happened. So I do not fault Hannah for being unsure as to whether or not she can trust Candace. I want to get that out of the way. All right. And what really has me is the fact that Benny was like, you know, how can you just act like that every time she comes over here and talks to you? And I'm like, Benny, shut the hell up. Do you not realize how you act towards Derek every time he even comes to the door? Or even Mitch, you know, you're being disrespectful to him too. So who are you to tell Hannah how she should be acting? So I'm glad Tyler Perry had Benny sit down and shut the hell up. He had nothing else to say. This was a Hannah and Candace moment. I'm going to be completely honest here. I wouldn't have minded if Benny and Derek were in the kitchen together washing dishes. That would have been an interesting scene. Like if Derek would have asked him, you know, what's this thing you got against me? That way you can have more development between those two characters, because if we do see that he is the man with the lion tattoo next week, that would actually make the Benny reaction to it a little bit better. But that's just my opinion. The scene was great for what it was. I'm just saying that Benny wasn't really required here. I mean, in order to get, I think that after he convinced Hannah to listen to what Candace had to say, he might have wanted, he could have exited the scene. But that's just my opinion. Once again, I'll probably talk about this more when I do a video going over the scene. But I don't know if I really want to do a play-by-play here. I mean, Candace pretty much apologizes, recounts a tale from her childhood with like a plastic ring or something, because she wanted the lead in a play, but she couldn't get it because she was too dark, allegedly. But then Hannah gave her reassurance about her beauty. And we got the lion tattoo brought up again. And then she gives Hannah little Quincy's ashes, a little Q's ashes, that was a heart-wrenching scene right there. And even further, tells them to give the money back to the criers. And that was, damn. When she said, I love you too, I lost it. I didn't cry, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Way better during a second viewing. If you saw me on Twitter, I'm like, look, guys, this scene is really good, but where's a commercial break? I really got to go to the bathroom. I literally was like, it was 9:55. I'm like, okay, Tyler Perry's going to put on a commercial. It's going to come back at 9:58. No, they had the darn show going for like almost 12 minutes straight. And I'm like, damn, I got to go. So that was a good scene. When I watched it the second time, I was able to thoroughly enjoy it. The facial expression, the body language was on point. Hannah pretty much says, you know, I never hated you. The same goes for both of you. You just should know by now that I can't really tolerate or deal when you do all this crazy sinful stuff, which is very reasonable. Then she asks for a hug and then leaves, and that was good. And then I will probably have to say this within the next 3 videos I record throughout the week, because I know people are eating me alive on Twitter and whatnot. I was wrong. Guys, I was wrong. When January 8th, when we first got that trailer, I was on team God hurt me. Up until the point where I did a new video, I forgot which one it was, but I said, I don't know, guys. Maybe Hannah said God heard me, because I think it was the video I did about, will Hannah get blamed if Wyatt shoots Jim? And in that video I talked about, what if Hannah's upset because it's on the news that Jim Cryer was shot, and then, you know, she'll be like, oh my God, God hurt me when I threatened to kill him so many times. But, you know, yeah, I admit I was wrong. Okay? All right, I was wrong. And look, I'm not mocking Hannah, but what did she go? She went, I'm not making fun of it. I wasn't even laughing when she was doing that, because that is how black women do when God touches their heart. That's what they do when they praise God. I've seen it in church when my mom does it. You know, at home when I was a kid, heard that a couple times. You know, family members doing that. You know, when black women don't have that their usual tone and voice when I mean, basically in that moment, you're just convicted. It's like you can't believe that God did that amazing thing in your life. So yeah, even though it was kind of, you know, randomly, if you thought it was funny when I was going, trying to mimic Hannah, like it really was a heartfelt moment. And she literally, this is something that it did not disappoint, because the narrator was right. You know, this has been something that will truly go down in have and have not history, because it's something we've been waiting for so long. But like I said, I'll do a separate video just talking about this scene. No, just talking about every aspect of it. But for what it was good. And to round things out, kind of going back to what I said before, I do not understand how Benny owes $20,000 in interest. I think this is something, like, correct me if I am wrong. I am open to, just like I admitted to being wrong about God hurt me instead of God hurt me. Please, I am looking for an explanation on this one. And I went back, I remember doing that video a while back about, you know, the favor that Candace was owed or whatever the case may be. And I broke it down because I rewatched the episode. Benny borrowed $45,000. Vinny told him over three payments, each payment would occur every 6 months, which I believe was the title of the episode, every 6 months. Every 6 months for three periods. So basically 18 months, which is ironic. You know, 6 times 3 is 18,000 each payment. At the end of his last payment, so it will be 18,000 every 6 months. If my math is correct, that would have been about $54,000. So if you subtract 45 from that, you would get $9,000 interest. Where the hell where this extra 11,000 came from, I have no clue. I have no clue how Benny all of a sudden owes $20,000 interest. And it was never explicitly stated, at least to my memory, because I went back and rewatched pretty much every Malone scene from when he borrowed the money, or when he said he wanted to return the money, to now, from, you know, when Mitch and Sandy spoke for the first time, to I forgot the other Malone. Was it not Salvador, not Sal, not the one that was in the cell with Wyatt, but the one with the gray hair. He was pretty much telling Mitch that, fine, if he gives back the 45,000 but doesn't have the interest money, we'll just break his legs. But they never said he owed more interest. They just said give the interest back. So if that, I think that's a major continuity error. But basically Candace pretty much says, well, if you get the interest from the millions in your bank account, then you can use that, but ask Catherine first. So pretty much Candace was literally giving it up. But this makes no sense to me. So that's a big nitpick. But overall, episode was better the second time I watched it, but overall there were still a lot of things that did annoy me, such as the drawn out scenes, obviously gearing up for the mid-season finale next week. And like I said at the beginning, just because the ending of an episode is really good does not mean the episode is overall good, at least in my opinion. Jeffrey's just acting stupid. Benny's still a, you know, brat. Wyatt is just annoying. I did like the Vinny scene. I did like Vinny and Mitch. I did like the banter between the halves at the beginning. I did like the ending scene with Candace and Hannah. The FBI scene was a nice scene. Wasn't too same with Charles. Those scenes weren't long, but they were effective. They got the point across that they were trying to get. A lot of build up for next week. I'm going to give this episode, and I'm going to be nice here, I want to give it an 8 out of 10. It was better the second time I watched it, because last night I was serious at like a 7.5. So 8 out of 10, but I do not like the fact that I've been disappointed for 2 weeks in a row when it comes to these episodes. But with that being said, you know the drill. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me and my thoughts on this episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I am happy to see that the channel jumped for almost 200 subscribers since yesterday, which is great. Hopefully we'll hit 70,000 really soon. So be on the lookout for my trailer breakdown, as well as my other discussion / theory videos. And I am not tired now, but I know next week this time I'm going to be exhausted, because keep in mind, on top of the haves and the have-nots, I'll also have to do my If Loving You Is Wrong videos as well. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you just saw, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, or if you have anything you would like to add to the video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go to the description box. All of my links for social media are right there. Also, if you feel like you would like to donate to the channel, make sure to click on the link to PayPal. Any amount helps. $1, $5, $20. As a full-time YouTuber, any support from my fans really does mean a lot to me. Finally, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you're kept up to date on any new content I post to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next video.